Right now on the National Weather Desk, extreme heat, soaring temperatures impact school schedules and your health.
They come home, shirts drenched in sweat.
Tracking the tropics. 3 storms are spinning in the Pacific, while the Atlantic may be awakening from its late summer slumber. We'll hear from one of the women rescued from flash flooding in the Grand Canyon.
There wasn't a whole lot of time to make decisions and react.
A look at the health danger mosquitoes could be spreading in part of New England.
30 to 50% mortality. The virus infects the nervous system.
And as kids head back to school, we are busting some common Earth science myths.
What people call heat lightning is simply a thunderstorm, but there's too much moisture in the atmosphere, so you don't hear the thunder.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Matt Ritter. Meteorological fall begins in less than a week, but across the Midwest, it still feels like the dog days of actual summer. More than 70 million people are facing heat alerts today, with excessive heat warnings in places like Milwaukee, Chicago, South Bend, Indiana, and even as far east as Philadelphia. That means the heat index will be more than 105 degrees today in those locations. In Wisconsin yesterday, people stayed cool by taking a dip in Lake Michigan. In Chicago, recess and PE classes have moved indoors because of the heat, while in Philadelphia, 63 schools will dismiss students early today and tomorrow because the schools don't have adequate air conditioning. And as Peter Maxwell reports, the same thing happened in Detroit.
Parents in the Detroit Public School Community District are voicing their concerns over having early dismissals for the first 2 days of the school year because of the heat.
I know this was a big problem last year. The kids were complaining about they were so hot. They come home, shirts drenched in sweat.
Yeah, they could have planned it better, and they need to put better air conditioning in these schools.
Not the way you want to start off the school year, but we can't control the weather.
Detroit Public Schools Superintendent Nikolai Vitti says this school district is working on making sure that all schools have air conditioning in the coming years. Right now, only half of the schools have working air.
Start this year, about 50% have air conditioning. In the next 5 years, all but 10 will have air conditioning. So just excited to make this investment.
Some people I talked to today told me they should have just delayed the first day of school until Wednesday.
I was kind of like, maybe we should start school a little later instead of doing it now, because I was looking forward to a full day.
We have air conditioning at our school, so I feel like they could have just let us go the full 8 hours.
A new study shows a 117% spike in heat-related deaths over the past 25 years. More specifically, researchers found that deaths have been increasing by nearly 17% every year since 2016. A disproportionate number of deaths are in California, Arizona, Nevada, and Texas. Heat is the #1 weather-related killer in the United States. Not only is the Great Lakes region facing extreme heat today, but the 28 million people living there are also under a threat of severe weather. Chicago, Milwaukee, Detroit, and Cleveland are all under a slight risk for strong to severe thunderstorms. Rhode Island was hit with a hailstorm on Monday. It fell at a good pace in many parts of the state. There was also minor flooding in some communities. There are no reports of any significant damage. Minneapolis was under a severe weather alert yesterday. Last night, the Twins game at Target Field was delayed after tornado sirens blared. And then look at what happened to the sky. This is not photoshopped. It turned red with a rainbow clearly visible. The game resumed about 90 minutes later, with the Twins losing to Atlanta. Tracking the tropics this morning as we approach the peak of hurricane season, we are now monitoring activity in both the Atlantic and the Pacific. Let's start in the Pacific, where there are still 3 storms: Tropical Storm Hone, Hurricane Gilma, and Tropical Storm Hector. Hone now is heading just west of Hawaii. It continues to weaken and should dissipate by Friday. Gilma is a Category 2 hurricane with maximum sustained winds of 105 miles per hour. It will weaken in the coming days, but could bring heavy rain and wind by Friday to Hawaii as the center passes just north. Tropical Storm Hector is also expected to weaken by the end of the week with no threat to land. Meantime, after an unusual period of calmness in the Atlantic, the National Hurricane Center is now monitoring a disturbance. It has a 20% chance of developing into a storm in the next week. It's still way too early to know what will happen if it does become a storm. New video of the landslide that killed one person in Alaska. The landslide happened Sunday in Ketchikan. The victim was Sean Griffin. 3 other people were hurt. Griffin and another worker were clearing stormwater drains when they were caught in the landslide. Alaska's governor has issued a disaster declaration. The city's mayor said this is one of the worst disasters he has seen.
In the amount of time that I've lived here in Ketchikan, which has been several decades, I've never seen anything like this.
Evacuation orders are still in place because officials say another landslide is possible. One American is dead after an ice cave inside a glacier collapsed in Iceland. The victim was part of a group that was touring the popular ice caves in southwestern Iceland. Everyone else has been accounted for. Trips this time of year can be dangerous because of the warmer weather. And we are hearing more about the rescues of 100 people from the Grand Canyon over the weekend. Tourists and tribal members were trapped by flash flooding following monsoon-related rains. Helicopters lifted many of those people to safety. One of the women who was rescued has a warning for anyone thinking about hiking in the Grand Canyon.
It was beautiful 1 foot, 2 foot blue water and, beautiful waterfalls. And within 45 minutes, it turned into a life and death situation. The flood came so fast. So if you're going to be in the Grand Canyon, especially on the floor of the Grand Canyon during monsoon season, to watch the weather, watch the radar, heed the warnings, take it seriously because it changed so quickly. There wasn't a whole lot of time to make decisions and react. So if anything, maybe don't be in a slot canyon during monsoon season.
And California's park fire is now 82% contained. For one California couple in the area, buying a Christmas tree farm was the start of a dream come true. A rural escape filled with beautiful scenery. But like for many others, the park fire ripped that away from them. Maxwell Tedford has their story.
A lot of great times up here, even just clearing brush and trying to get ready to work towards returning it to a Christmas tree farm.
The previous owners had closed the Christmas tree farm to the public in 2022 after almost 60 years of operation. Months later, they bought the property with the hopes of bringing the community landmark back.
After so many years of it being kind of neglected and not replanted, and the years of the drought, there wasn't a great variety of trees left. So we really were hoping that someday we'd be able to open it back up to how it was in its glory days.
However, the park fire set that dream back. Because of the area it was located, like many others, they were unable to obtain insurance, leaving them to start the path to recovery out of their own pocket.
So we ended up not being able to get fire insurance, and just as of this week, we decided to do a GoFundMe to try and help because of not having any.
Despite how much work is ahead of them, the two are counting their blessings. Thankful they still have a home in Corning they can live in, and that they have the ability to try again at bringing this place back.
Pretty much just gonna do what we've done to the entire first half of our lives and just work for it and, just make it happen. Just
one step at a time, make our plans and work on it a little bit at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And take a look at this video from Central California. A homeowner says a large dust devil took his backyard umbrella and sent it flying into the air. He was able to get this video as the umbrella flew across his neighborhood, eventually landing in a backyard. Winds from dust devils can reach 60 miles per hour, plenty of force to lift the 9-foot umbrella into the air. The umbrella was safely retrieved with only minor damage. Now let's check to see the weather in cities along the water this morning. We begin in Waterford, Connecticut. Patchy fog this morning will give way to sunny skies with a high right around 80 degrees. Heading south to Gulfport, Mississippi, where there's a mix of sun and clouds this morning. A stray shower or a thunderstorm is possible. Highs today in Gulfport will be around 92 degrees. And we head to Duluth, Minnesota, where there's a possible risk of severe weather today. Skies will be overcast with rain and showers most of the day, with highs only getting into the low 70s. And we'll finish things off with a look at beautiful San Francisco, California. It'll be cloudy this morning, with skies becoming mostly sunny this afternoon, and highs will be in the mid to low 70s. Up on the National Weather Desk, a new warning about mosquitoes. We'll tell you about the deadly virus that are spreading in the Northeast. And we'll tell you about the bush in Texas that can predict the weather.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with Look at the Northeast. Most of the Northeast will top out in the 70s and 80s. Today will be warmest into New York and northern parts of New Jersey. Look for a lot of sunshine and the early morning fog that should burn off. This is 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Notice the lack of clouds. Should be a nice day in the Northeast. Then as we go into the nighttime hours, we're tracking this approaching front. We'll start to introduce some showers and thunderstorms over western New York. This is 11 o'clock tonight. As we go into the morning hours on Wednesday, we'll introduce some of those showers and thunderstorms in New England.
I'm meteorologist Jasmine Lomax with a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. We start the day with plenty of sunshine into the afternoon. We'll have a few more clouds move in and isolated showers can't be ruled out. Once we head into the night, a lot of us start to see a clearing all ahead of rain arriving on Wednesday, lasting into Thursday. It'll be hot today as temperatures rise to the 80s and the low 90s. Then overnight, temperatures stay above average, dropping to the 70s across the region.
I'm meteorologist Vetus Reed. Here's a look at your southeast forecast highs for the day. Look at Nashville, 100 degrees. We're looking at Tupelo, 99, 94 in Atlanta, 94 Raleigh, and about 93 degrees in Tampa, 89 West Palm. So we're seeing hotter temperatures up in Nashville than Florida. In many areas, that heat bubble is going to be moving across the Midwest and around the Great Lakes region. Plenty of sunshine, but down in South Georgia, parts of Florida, we'll get some showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon. But that heat is definitely going to be turned up across the area.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
A new warning about a deadly virus known as the EEE virus. The mosquito-borne illness was just reported in Massachusetts, the state's first human case since 2020. But Massachusetts isn't alone. Jeff Harris has more.
Ned Walker, a professor at Michigan State, tells us EEE, or Eastern Equine Encephalitis, spreads through mosquito bites, mostly in eastern states.
Primarily along the East Coast, but some parts of upstate New York and the Midwest.
Walker says what makes EEE different from other mosquito-borne illnesses is that the virus is extremely dangerous.
30 to 50% mortality. And then anybody who survives it typically has some after effects because the virus infects the nervous system.
So far this year, 3 human cases of EEE have been reported, including one in Massachusetts, a state Walker says experts look at to see where the virus is spreading.
And we kind of look to Massachusetts as you could say a canary in the coal mine for what's happening.
To protect residents from the virus, including several towns at high risk, the state is now spraying those areas with mosquito-killing pesticides, something Dawn Wesson, a professor of tropical medicine, says can be an effective tool.
Doing a proactive spraying of that environment, say if it's a ball field or a soccer pitch or whatever that might be.
But spraying isn't enough. Wesson recommends that everyone wear insect repellent, especially younger kids and older adults who are most at risk.
Using some kind of a repellent that stays on reliably is going to be important.
Now, Wesson also says if you live in an area at risk for EEE, it's best to stay inside after sunset. According to the CDC, 11 human cases of the virus are reported each and every year.
And we talked earlier about extreme heat and how it's affecting the health and safety of students heading back to school, but there are other risks. Heat can have major impacts on your car. Brenna Gibsons has more.
Yeah, so heat, especially here in West Texas, is pretty brutal on tires. You think tires is rubber. So what happens over time is that rubber has a tendency to dry out.
J.W. Alexander, the store manager at Discount Tires, says it's important to pay attention to your tire pressure as the weather changes.
So tire pressures are very sensitive when it comes to the temperature. For every 10 degrees the temperature drops, you do lose a pound of air pressure. So with it being so hot here, that fluctuation in air pressure is going to happen, not as bad in the summertime, but when those cooler weathers do come, that temperature does affect the air pressure on the tires.
He says you need to check on the tire pressure at least once every month.
The main thing is just tire rotations. Make sure you're rotating your tires regularly. Don't be afraid to come in at any time. Anytime you're hesitant on the tires or before you take a road trip, I always recommend coming in before you hit the road. Those roads, with it being so hot, does take a toll on tires as well. Age cracking is big here in West Texas. As the tire heats up, it expands, and those cracks do expand as well, and that's when you're more susceptible to having tire failure.
Alexander says there is a way to keep an eye on your tire's tread at home.
So if you could check your tread test by just putting a penny on your tread, if you see Abe Lincoln's head, then it is time for new tires. I do recommend replacement on age at 6 years.
The heat can also affect your car's battery. Some ways to help protect your car battery would be to park it in the shade and avoid using it to run lights, the stereo, or other accessories when the engine is not on.
Summer is waning, fall starts next month, and before you know it, the cold weather will be here. Meteorologist Matt Gunn has a rundown of what the Farmer's Almanac says winter will be like in the nation's heartland.
Children are heading back to school, outdoor pools are closing for the year, and days are beginning to get shorter. As days get shorter, cooler temperatures will be here before you know it, and that also means instead of rain falling, you may start to see some snow falling. As that thought creeps back into people's minds, the Farmer's Almanac released its prediction for the upcoming winter season this month. Its overall prediction for the Heartland's winter matches last year, which is cold with average snowfall. When examining it closer, it calls for the coldest temperatures of the season to arrive at the end of January and start of February. When it comes to when the Heartland may see a good amount of wintry precipitation, the Farmer's Almanac highlights a few days toward the end of January. That means the Heartland may, according to the Farmer's Almanac, miss out on a white Christmas again this year. Historically, that is common for the area, as there is a 26 to 40% chance the Heartland sees a white Christmas each year. Residents still have plenty of time to enjoy summer festivities, as fall begins on September 22nd and winter starts on December 21st.
Well, can plants predict the weather? Texas folklore says there's a bush with that capability. Meteorologist Chicago Windler tells us more.
This is Texas sage, or purple sage, and as you can see, it is blooming. Folklore says that if this blooms, there could be rain. This is also nicknamed the barometer bush because it's extremely sensitive to changes in pressure and humidity. So it's not a good chance, but at least there's a chance.
With many kids heading back to school this week, it's a great time to beef up your science knowledge. Emily Gracie sat down with two experts and authors to tackle some wild earth science questions and bust some common myths.
So what lightning is and what people call heat lightning is simply a thunderstorm that's a great distance away. So you see the lightning, but there's too much moisture in the atmosphere that it absorbs the sound before it gets to you. So you don't hear the thunder.
So we shouldn't call it heat lightning. We should call it humidity lightning.
Yes, right. Yeah, I took point lightning. That's it.
Moist lightning. The green flash. Can you explain the green flash?
I've seen a couple because I spent a lot of time out at sea, and the best conditions to see it is an open horizon, no clouds over the ocean. That's the best chance to see one as the sun is setting. So as the sun goes below the horizon, if the conditions are perfect, you might see just this very quick, almost instantaneous flash, a little flash of green as the sun departs. But it has to do with the refracting of the sun's rays and splitting them into different colors and wavelengths. And the smaller wavelengths, like the blue and purple, get scattered. The longer wavelengths go past where you would see them, like red. But the green wavelength is like the Goldilocks of wavelengths. And it's just the right wavelength that when it gets refracted, it's in your vision, it's in your sight.
Should you pee on a jellyfish sting?
Ready?
No.
If you pee on a jellyfish sting, it could make it worse because two things cause the stinging cells to fire. Contact with skin, or anything really, but contact, or a change in chemistry, such as pH. And your urine does not have the same pH as salt water. So peeing on a sting could cause more cells to fire and make it worse.
And now we know. To hear Ellen and Dave answer many more weather and ocean questions, check out this week's episode of our podcast, Off the Radar. You'll hear all about megalodons, the Bermuda Triangle, and even St. Elmo's fire. Find Off the Radar anywhere you listen to podcasts, including on our YouTube channel. Just search the National Weather Desk. Taking views of Utah's Little Cottonwood Canyon.
Well, a very good Tuesday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buckmichael. High temperatures are going to be in the 90s across a lot of the central and southern part of the Midwest. A little cooler to the north with some scattered showers and thunderstorms for your Tuesday. And we see that kind of drifting its way closer to the Ohio Valley on Wednesday, but still hot across a lot of the Midwest unless you live to the north. By the time that we get to Thursday, still these scattered showers and thunderstorms across the Midwest will continue with highs remaining in the 90s across the southern Midwest.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. Here's a look at your regional weather. We're starting off really cool this morning in Amarillo. 69 degrees, everybody else sitting into the 70s for the most part. It is trending a lot cooler over the next few days as we see that high pressure pull away from the region. That'll allow more rain down towards South Texas, scattered showers across areas of the Panhandle in Oklahoma and into Louisiana. Temperatures are going to be trending cooler as well in the afternoon. I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. That's a look at your regional weather.
Well, hi there, everybody, and a good Tuesday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. Out west, we've had autumn in August, and one more day of it at that around Seattle anyway, with highs just in the mid-60s in the Emerald City. 109 out of Phoenix, and you see the thunderstorms there back for parts of the Four Corners region, courtesy of an area of low pressure, at times dragging some of that monsoonal moisture back in toward Texas, Arizona, and New Mexico. And that's the scene from here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
We talk a lot about clouds, and we want to help you better understand wave clouds. Meteorologist Matt Monroe recently took a photo of one and posted about it on Facebook.
You know, we have so many different kinds of clouds. Today, want to focus on a wave cloud. Exactly what is it and how does it form? Well, typically, wave clouds form on the eastern side, the leeward side of a mountain range that runs typically north to south. And one of those is right here. It is the mighty Sierra Nevada. So you have the mountain range running north to the south, and then you have basically winds coming in from the west to the east, perpendicular through, up, and over those mountains. And the wave clouds form, again, on the eastern or leeward side of the mountain range. So here you go. Here's a great example of one. I shot this video in Reno, Nevada. We call that a Sierra wave cloud because it's coming off the Sierra Nevada, and this thing is large and in charge, and it goes for miles up and over Reno into the North Valleys there in western Nevada. So again, that is a great example of a Sierra wave cloud, and they are so pretty to see in person.
Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I'm meteorologist Matt Ritter. Make it a great Tuesday. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.